Hello everyone, my name is Melissa, and I have another chill hangout art video. So get out your projects and let's work together on something. So in this video, I am finishing up my Peachtober project. I realize that it has already been a week into November and everyone's over it. And I haven't yet finished my zine project, which is what I wanted to do with this Peachtober. Instead of just drawing 30 different images every day prompted by the word list, I was hoping to let the word list create some kind of story so that I could practice my storytelling skills. Something with a beginning and a middle and an end, which is far different from what I do now, which is watercolor paintings that have like little snapshots of a story, images of a moment. So if you have not watched the first video of this story, I'll leave it in the description so that you can see where I've started. Today's word is aquarium. How do I fit aquarium into a story about an oak tree and a bird? When I think of aquarium, I think of water. So I'll probably do maybe really big fish of some kind. Might as well just do rain. Maybe it's raining so much. Maybe the bird is a really unreliable narrator. But the first thing you do when you're out in public and it just starts to rain is you gather underneath cover. And sometimes it's a tree. It's probably not going to be a tree because they're terrible cover. But to birds would probably take cover under this. A simple life as a tree could easily affect the neighborhood in a really positive way. Hyperbolize that rain, make it really dramatic. It's raining so much. You could swim through it. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what kind of mood this should be. But I think visually, I'll do something like that. I wasn't able to do a lot of real-time sketching and planning on camera for every word, and so what we're seeing now is web and paper. And this comes at the end of the list where I feel like my story is relatively closed circuit. Like, I feel like I don't want to add any more branches or ideas to it. The story being a bird found an acorn, thought it was a very strange looking egg, decides to raise it as his own, doesn't understand why he can't teach it to fly or sing, finds a way to work around it, overcomes this fear of inadequacy as a foster parent, I guess, and then sees the tree kind of developing into its own being with its own value and place in the world. And then because of the words in this list, prompting where the story is going, something kind of changes halfway through. The glory that the family is experiencing sort of peters out. It loses momentum. And then it becomes more of like a story of mourning and loss. It's just supposed to parallel what we experience in our own life when we don't have one of those like exponentially increasing lifestyles, you know. That story timeline kind of ends, and then the bird has to kind of deal with his like feelings of losing everything that he worked so hard to get. Or does he? So at this point in the story, I just was so sick of drawing an oak tree and bird, but I was running so out of time. The web, I did the leaves with the webbing in the sunrise to represent kind of like a changing day or a passing of time. And then with paper, I did a graphite drawing of a leaf that has been dried or like moth-eaten or whatever. When I came across the word bear, I really didn't want to draw a bear. And then I realized I could just draw a woolly bear caterpillar. A nice little image just to add to the community of the tree during his like peak glory. I don't think that they eat oak leaves, but one thing that I did learn about the woolly bears is that they literally just let themselves freeze in the winter. Freezing into a block of ice does surprise me, but then I guess that's not the worst thing that a caterpillar has to do. Caterpillars are so weird. For the word button, I wanted to just draw a button because it's a really great shape. And so I drew the bird at the end after the tree is cut. Spoiler. And the bird is mourning the tree, and so he's wearing one of his leaves as a coat through the winter to keep warm. Keep warm in his heart and reflect on life and accomplishments, because he spent his whole life raising this tree as if it was a bird, worrying about it, and now it's just gone and he has to think of something else to do with his life. It's just a little quiet moment, and I really love drawing him in this silly style. He's very cute. Today's word is spots. So now I'm just kind of making like filler images, and I'm also kind of in a hurry because I have a street craft fair tomorrow and I'm really nervous about it, and I've not really prepared at all for it. So I need to get through this a little bit faster today, and it probably will not work out And I'm trying to think of something to do at this point in the story in the month after 24 days of drawing things is tough, especially since I kind of have the story done-ish. Full disclosure, this time I really did need to look up inspiration. I went to Instagram to see what everyone else was doing for spots. And I noticed that some people were doing ladybugs, some people were doing different kinds of birds like starlings, things that have spots on them. And I thought, well, actually, northern flicker birds, they're pretty relevant to my daily, visitors that I get at home. So I'm going to steal that idea and do something like that. They're such extra birds. So if I could have the bird kind of taking off, but from the tree branch, and then it would be sort of covered in ladybugs, so it would have a double spot duty, and maybe he I don't know how to draw a flying ladybug. Is that right? Spook some of the ladybugs, and they'll be like taking off. The bells sort of hanging off, because that's the magic of this tree. That's how he like sings his bird songs, is with the wind. I would love to do like a contrasted image where it's years later and it starts to die. And so maybe I'll have like the same scene and he's got like the disease spots and the bells are still there, but they're kind of like broken or like rusted. Like they got rust spots on them even. Me being in a rush, this is probably not the best plan to do two things at once, but, and let's face it, I am never ready for any event that I go to. So... When I originally started adding these little ghosts to some of my paintings, oh gosh, my pencil. It was actually technically a visual representation of aphids, I think. Because, you know, when you walk through a grass or a whole bunch of these little tiny aphids would hop off in every direction and they would be so light, like little ghosts being disturbed. And that's why they're kind of this shape, because it's sort of like a moving orb. What's crazy, though, is that I started this in a hurry, kind of not really thinking that this was going to be any fun. And I really like this so much that I kind of want to turn it into like a bigger painting. I always need, you know, animal art. And I'm just going to really quickly color this in. I only have 30 minutes left to work on this, so... let's see if I can get it. Usually when I'm painting, especially if I'm in a hurry, I usually do like a first coat on dry paper. If I'm taking my time and I want to like really enjoy it, I might do like a wet on wet thing and let the colors seep into each other. But when I just want to color in the lines for like the basic colors that I want to do, and then as this bird is drying, for example, then I can do the ladybugs. Or I guess the leaves make more sense. I do the leaves. And especially since this paper is really thin, it dries really fast, so I don't have to wait too long for it to dry. And if I do, I got the heat gun right next to me. I put this cheek on a little bit too soon, so it's bleeding a little bit. But because this isn't proper watercolor paper, it doesn't really want to move too much. It's fine. I want this to be a little bit brighter. Let's fix this. perfect, just in time, 1 minute over the hour limit. I'm really surprised that I came into this with no ideas and then ended up with something that I actually really want to take further later. But yeah, that is today's spot. So now I have all of my drawings and I'm going to have to put them together somehow. And the part that I'm going to find difficult is writing text to go along with it. But I don't know, I feel kind of like nervous about trying to create something with a beginning, a middle, and an end, but doing it with very minimal amount of text. And I'm going to have to hope that people will inject their own thoughts into the images that they see. And I'm going to hope that I've drawn them in a way that conveys literally anything. Here's my little proof booklet to figure out where I'm going to put all these drawings, in what order. And there is a weird section near the end where things kind of go downhill, but there's not really any explanation as to why it goes downhill. And I don't know if that's like a weak spot in the story or if that's just how life is. Like some people just like come and go in your life, or, you know, good things come to an end. But by doing this booklet, now I can organize the pages on my printed out papers. So I'll mark this as page 1 and page 2. And so when I lay it out, it's going to have to be like this. Odds on one side, evens on the other. Now that I have my little paper map of how I'm going to format this booklet, using as many images as I could, I got it down to 40 pages, this booklet, which is a nice round number divisible by 4, which will allow me to sort of lay it out on a regular 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And the booklet is going to be quarter size, so you fold the paper in half, and then I fold it again to make the small booklet. In order to be able to fold all these sheets and sew them together and still make the story make sense in the correct order, that's why I really needed that paper booklet. So I can mark it up and I can see visually where each page has to be in order for it to line up correctly. I know that there are programs that will probably do this automatically, but I don't think I have any of those programs. And I've done this system a few times already, so I kind of have it down. Otherwise, it's very confusing. So that little paper map is essential. Not to mention keeping track and making sure that all my odd pages are on the odd page, and all the even 8 pages are on the even page, to make sure that they are printing front and back properly. And then I'm going to print a test page real quick, just to make sure that I did it right, but also to see if it lines up. Yeah, see, top and bottom, there's that 2mm gap, and that is super annoying. If I was doing a zine that folds this way, that would not be good. It would be noticeable and irritating, so that's when I would have to go into the file and nudge it this way a little bit. Here's the finished book. I just used the first drawing as the cover. It's a cute little backside. It's a bit shiny. It's a cute little bow binding. There is some room for improvement, such as like font sizes. I also just kind of steamrolled through this, and the writing is not very eloquent. But for an impulsive story challenge, I think it's alright. See, today I found a strange looking egg. Where's its mother? I soared through the sky like a kite, but I couldn't see anyone. I knew that every good egg must be kept warm, and then it happened. This is the strangest bird I've ever seen. It grew fast and tall like a poppy. I used that picture that I didn't like. When it came time to fly, Acorn was resistant. Our feathers aren't so different, I said, but he would not be convinced. It was really hard to kind of get the pictures to be arranged around the gutter without being chopped by the gutter, so there are definitely ones where I extended the sides off a little bit. All the other fledglings took to the skies, feeling the wind under the wings for the first time. Acorn wouldn't budge. It was as if he was fixed to the ground with tiny ropes. The fledglings' happy chirping faded into the landscape without us. The good bird needs a song. No matter how hard we tried, Acorn wouldn't make a peep. How can we help Acorn find his voice? There's cute. They're trying to teach him how to sing. We gifted Acorn with many tiny silver bells. The bright sound floated along the gentle breeze, inspiring the neighboring birds with the most beautiful music they'd ever heard. I think I might digitally lighten some of these birds. I couldn't figure out what I didn't like about this picture, and I think it's just very monotone. The whole neighborhood is so inspired by Acorn's music that the forest is bursting with new song. Small gifts have begun to appear each morning. Such lovely tokens of eternal gratitude. My favorite picture. It says, the mornings are filled with joyful chatter. Acorn has developed into a fine bird after all, offering comfort and safety to his many new friends. I knew one day he wouldn't need me anymore, but I didn't think it would be so soon. There he is, looking kind of alone. And then here's a little break where we see all of his new friends and everyone coming together. Here he is with the brand new nest. I love this picture. It's so cute. And this is where things kind of change, where all good things must come to an end. And I don't know who said this quote. Even the sweetest song must reach its final note. If you know, let me know so I can add it here. Who said that? I couldn't find it. I don't know how this spot got here, but I kind of like it, so I'm not going to be mad about it. Here's another sort of empty space, because I wanted it to sort of time is passing and the sun is rising. It's a very important day, I guess. And it says, we used to host many gatherings for the flock, but as the songs grow more distant, I now get to visit with Acorn quietly, the breeze in his remaining feathers brushing softly against my own. And this is for the word brush. And I just think it's kind of fun that he thinks of the tree as having feathers instead of leaves. The man with the axe. I could have made the tree look a little bit more dead, but I think I'm going to need to nudge these a little more. That little gap in the gutter is so annoying. Here's whoosh. Here he is. It's winter time. And he is mourning his little acorn friends. Time has passed. Now it's spring again. He's got a little bit of a friend there. Not all is lost, you know. And there he is with his little mourning cloak. He's got his button-up leaf, a memory of his tree that he's lost. And then, oh, what's this? What's this? Life starts again. Every day is another chance to turn it all around, you know? And then it just kind of ends. Which is something that I tend to do because I'm shy. But hopefully it makes sense. Hopefully people inject their own kind of feelings into it. And that is the story of drawing a bird and his acorn every day until I get bored.